How are you?
So what can we do about it then? Part two.
Well,
Ruth.
yeah, I mean, it all sounds pretty bleak, doesn't it? Which
It
is
does,
sad.
yeah.
But the good news is that the skills that we need to stand out from the crowd are totally learnable. Okay. And not most of them aren't really big changes. They are small tweaks that you can make that will really make all the difference and will help you stand out in this ridiculously crowded landscape that we're all in. So I have got my top 5 tips to help you feel prepared, help you feel confident. This is mainly for job interviews, but any time really that you have something coming up that's really important that you're preparing for. So my first tip is practice, practice, practice. The more prepared and practiced you are, the less likely your nerves will be able to throw you off track. And practice out loud, not just in your head. So when you speak words out loud, you really notice things like your tone and your phrasing that you just wouldn't notice if you were running it through in your head. And another really, really good thing to do when you are practicing it out loud is to film yourself doing it and watch yourself back, because you then just notice things that you're doing that you're really, really not aware of. Because very often it feels very different to how it looks. So yeah, I cannot stress that enough, really, of how useful that is to be able to see yourself back on screen. So that's my first tip, is practice. My second tip would be to slow down. Very often when we get nervous, we start to speak up and we speak really, really quickly. And that is when we ramble. That is when we go off track. That's when we make mistakes. We and and use lots of filler words. So just slow down. Get comfortable with pauses. Allow your brain time to keep up with your mouth. You will sound more confident. You'll sound more considered, more in control, and you will be more succinct and you're more likely to stay on track. And my third tip is, and this is to do with job interviews, but it's to go through the original job posting and identify the top like 3 to 5 most important skills that are needed for that role. And then when you've got those skills, arm yourself with maybe 3 stories from your life where you demonstrated those skills. And a really good structure for telling these stories is the STAR method. So the STAR method is situation, task, action, and result. So I'll just give you a very, very quick example. So say I'm telling a story about when I have displayed leadership qualities, right? Situation, I was doing my Duke of Edinburgh Gold Award, right? And we were camping, but it started to rain. Task, we needed to start a fire and build a shelter so that the fire wouldn't go out. Action, I delegated jobs for everyone to do so it could be completed as quickly as possible. And the result was we managed to build a shelter and start a fire so everyone could eat and we stayed warm. So that's a really basic example of the STAR method, which is it's a really good structure. It keeps you succinct, it keeps you clear, it keeps you concise. I mean, there's lots of other structures you can use as well. There's the storytelling structure with a beginning, a middle, and an end. But it's just a really good way to keep you on track and to keep them following along with you.
And if I might just interject there, Ruth, as well, that you can often use the same story for different questions. So
Yes.
that's also a great example of, yeah, thinking on your feet, working well under pressure, difficult situations, leadership. So you can have a nice story like that and adapt it,
Yeah.
depending on whatever the question is, you can use it for whichever question that
Yeah,
might come up.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. You can fit
great
it to
tip.
whatever thing comes up, and then you look like you're thinking on your feet really, really quickly, but
Exactly.
it's all prepared. That's where that preparation and that practice really, really comes in.
Mm.
And so, another tip, you may find that your interview is online and not in person. A lot of interviews now are conducted online. If that is the case, then you really need to consider your screen presence. So make sure that their first impression of you is a good one. So have a clean background, make sure you're filling the screen nicely like we are here. You know, if that means raising your device up, then do it. Make sure that you're well lit, so have the light coming from behind your computer, not from behind you. All these things, they may sound very trivial and obvious, but believe me, they really make a big difference. You want that first impression to be a really, really good one. And finally, my last tip is the main thing that your possible future employer is going to be looking for is that they can work with you, right? Is that they like you. They need to feel a connection. And to feel a connection with you, they need eye contact. So if you are meeting them in person, make sure to give them lots of nice, warm eye contact. But even if it's an online interview or even an AI interview, right, you can still give the other person on the other side of that call or the person that's watching the video that sense of eye contact. And how we do this is when you are speaking, you look into your camera. You look into that little green dot at the top of your screen. And to them, it will look like you are looking at them, right? So it will look like you are giving them that lovely sense of eye contact. And eye contact is so, so important. When you make eye contact with another person, a tiny bit of a hormone called oxytocin is released in both parties. And oxytocin is the hormone for bonding, right? For connection. So it is actually really, really powerful. It might take a little bit of practice getting used to speaking to a camera when you're online, but it's really worth getting comfortable with. It does really make a difference.
Mm.
So those are my top 5 actionable tips for now, but there are so, so many. There's so much more we could go into. And like I said at the beginning, it's actually quite small changes and quite small little tweaks, but it can help you stand out. It really, really can help you stand out. And we are here to help with practice as well. It's all practice, isn't it? It's having sessions with people like us or um, even your family and friends. Just it's just practice getting used to doing it.
Absolutely, Ruth, and that's something we of course offer is one-to-one coaching for those people who've got big interviews coming up. That contact us on the website there, or yeah, uh, speakthespeech.co.uk, and we can organise that. Brilliant. Thank you for sharing all of that, Ruth. Yeah, some great tips there. Absolutely, some great tips. One or two that I might add to that as well. I always think that researching the company that you are applying for is really, really important. That you're armed with as much information as you can, especially with these bot interviews, because apparently what they're often looking for are certain words, keywords, right? That yeah, they've been programmed to look out for. So it can often be a good idea to look at the company website and to identify some of the words that they use and try to insert, I know this sounds strange, but try to insert as many of those words into your interview as you can. So, for example, I was looking at a company website earlier on today, and they talk about resilience, they talk about empathy, they talk about integrity and courage. And so, if you can insert those sorts of words into some of your answers, yeah, I'm a very empathetic person. I'm somebody who will always like to take the bull by the horns and be courageous when I'm looking. So you're just able to tick all of those,
Weaving things in.
weaving those things in.
And you can
Exactly.
do that with the job description as well. So go through the description and pick out the keywords that they use as well as the website. Just sprinkle them in to your answers. Yeah,
Sprinkle
definitely.
them in. Exactly.
Especially when it's the AI. interviews when you're speaking to a bot, because they
Yeah,
will have algorithms. They will, they will have keywords that they're looking for, that if you say those words, you get a tick.
this is it. This is it. Yeah, exactly. Um, and I think also the starting an interview, like my example, the story I gave at the beginning, when the guy had got done within 2 minutes. And very often it's that opening bit where you're feeling a little bit nervous, perhaps. If you've got something that tell me about yourself question, which is very often the first question that comes up, tell me a little bit about yourself. That's something that you can almost have word for word prepared, right? A nice 60-second story of you. And my tip for that would be to look at three areas, which is the who, the what, and the why. And try and keep it in the present. So you don't need to talk about years and years ago. So who I am a university student who has just finished 3 years studying business at Leeds. Uh, what I've been doing is I have been during that time, I worked part-time for a small agency, learning the ropes. I also ran the university website and increased traffic by 40%. And then the why bit, try and make that specific about the company that you are applying for. So the reason I have applied for this job is because I've been really impressed by what I've read about how you often give junior members of staff lots of encouragement early on, give them tasks to do. And
Mm.
this is something I feel would really benefit me. So you've got that nice, strong opening 60 seconds that talks about who you are in the present, what you've done. So two or three things that you have done, and the why, the specifics of why you want to join that company.
And just as you're saying that, John, it's just, I'm picturing myself being the person conducting the interview, and I'm picturing someone doing what you've just described. And again, even though you're describing an imaginary situation, I can see how quickly the person doing the interview thinks, well, wow, if they speak this clearly, this succinctly about themselves, then yeah, there's a pretty good chance they're going to be committed. They've clearly prepared for this. And so that, yeah, there's a really good chance this person is going to work well within a team, be great for us to hire, because look, this is how well they speak. That there is that, we do make that connection, don't we?
We so do. Yeah. I mean, Ruth talked about standing out, right? And if you
Yeah.
just think about standing out, right? And how many of those interviews will be somebody sort of sat here just talking,
Mm. Yeah,
doing
yeah.
their best, but talking off the cuff. We see it all the time with our courses, when people are trying to think on their feet. It'll be hesitant and lots of ers and ums, and but if you've got somebody who, as Ruth said, is really present, is physically present, is looking at the camera, is smiling, has a bit of energy to their voice, isn't rushed, has nice prepared answers or structured answers, then absolutely those are the things
Mm.
that are going to stand you in good stead and make you stand
Absolutely.
out.
Yeah, the easiest, easiest way, I think, for people to stand out is just being really polite. Like at the end of the interview, just standing up and saying, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you for your time. Have a lovely day. Those tiny little
Mm.
things,
They can.
Mm.
they can really help make you stand out, because a lot of people, when they get nervous, just forget all of the niceties. They're just like,
Mm.
oh, I need to answer this question. I need to do
Mm.
this.
Mm.
But just remember to be human. Remember to be you.
Totally. And it's hard. Look, I mean, let's not get around this. When you're talking to if you are talking to an AI bot, because you're not getting any of this that we have with each other now, the mirroring, the things that we can feed off each other, the nodding of the head and the smiling and all of that. So this is again where I think, Ruth, what you said about practice is so important. Just getting used to like, we've got used to it, haven't we, over the years. Like you might have noticed how often we look into the camera. I'm doing it right now. So I'm looking at a green dot, but I am pretending that I am looking at Mike and Ruth and all of you, right? That's what we have to trick ourselves. And that took us a while to get used to it, didn't it, when COVID first struck?
Absolutely. But it's second nature now, isn't it?
It's second nature now. But yeah, so imagining the head nods, imagining that you've got someone who's listening to you, who's interested in you. And so you're being interesting when you're speaking, like in your tone of voice, in your gestures, as Mike said, with your hand gestures and your face, and all of those things become really important. Good. Well, look, we hope we've given you some food for thought there. We do appreciate it's a very, very hard world out there at the moment, and it's probably not going to get any easier. So standing out is going to become more and more important. If you do want any follow-ups, we are here at Speak the Speech to give those follow-ups. We do them via group courses, we do them via one-to-one courses. So do get in touch with us if you would like some specific feedback and some specific one-to-one help on any of this. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you all at the next one.
Are you a soul butterfly in the morning? Just one.